kids, you think you're pretty cocky, he says, but be careful. He says, if you ever get tangled with them overnight, when they hit you, it hurts twice as bad,
Yeah.
because their brains don't touch. And I used to take some
Hey,
taekwondo
Dan.
classes,
Hello.
and there was a guy doing about
Morning, Dan.
Good morning.
That's like, oh, you me right there.
I'm guessing some of you had the same experience as me
Just
last
totally, didn't feel the air going.
Could be, I don't know.
week. Were you watching?
Oh,
So you did that?
not very long.
Not very
Well,
long.
I couldn't watch it.
I stuck it up probably over halfway, then shut it off for 15 minutes, called my brother and ranted. And he said, it's actually gotten better, back on, so then I turned it on for the end.
Down you went.
So there was my foot, when Joe was pointing out, and she almost fainted.
That's what I've seen.
I was wondering.
Said he actually,
She almost fainted.
That who did? Trouble. Or Joe. Joe.
Morning.
I couldn't see either of them doing it.
Daniel,
Hello.
haven't seen you since, was it yesterday or the day before?
that Chris Wall
Which
is
was it
Wall.
again?
He's a professional reporter. He knows how to stir them up.
I like him quite a lot usually, but I did not think he did particularly well.
Mean, lean, talking machine.
We had this new guy at the ambulance meeting, what's his name?
Oh, is he there? Good. Yeah, Jarek, he's the new Gila editor.
Oh, okay. Jerry?
He's been there, yeah, look, it's Eric with a J before, so Jarek.
Oh,
He's from Arizona, he's been there for a few months now, and I think he's a better fit than some of the last ones.
Yeah, but he's only gonna be here another, what, 3 weeks, I heard?
Hear that because of snow coming, and then he's gonna flee?
Yeah,
He's looking forward to it, he thinks it's like a special.
yeah, going back down there, he'd work from home.
You think snow is a special thing?
Yeah, he's super excited. Well, see how long that attitude lasts.
Well, he'd come over,
We got a
yeah,
shovel for 25 minutes and a negative 20 wind chill.
I was gonna say, you send him over, I'll have a shovel for him, he can give that a whirl.
That's the trouble, some of those guys, all they see is the snowfall, and the next day is a bright, sunny, clear day, and it's gorgeous.
If it was a Christmas postcard, if that was what winter was,
Yeah.
oh, wonderful.
he seemed okay.
Geez, if he'd have been around in the year when everything was rear wheel drive too,
Oh, yeah.
pushing people out all the time. I had pushed a guy out, he was our barber down in our old small town. I was getting ready to shovel it, he's just a second, he opens up his trunk, and he had a serrated pin from an old fanning mill, you know, with the
Yeah.
corrugations in it, like they used to use on the beaters for the old.
Well, I'm glad
Put that
the
on the
protection
and he
stuff
could
is
drive
great.
forward for traction. The old farmers.
Don't
had
pull
some
the bat
tips,
out
you
from
know.
underneath the desk and let me
It
know.
worked good, it
Well, you have to do sometimes, yeah.
was all bent up, cause you know, that snow isn't always
The
flat.
hardest part of getting all the ballots out, we got done last week, but all the ones that were getting in the queue, there's
Yeah.
3,200 of them. So now we just have to get them out as they come in, but an 800 phone calls a day.
Well, good.
Morning, everybody. It's 9 o'clock. We'll open our meeting, please. And we start with a roll call, please.
Dwight,
Here.
Wayne,
Here.
Dwayne,
Here.
Marvin,
Here.
Merlin.
Here.
Okay, we do have a quorum. The meeting is called to order. The only thing on our agenda today is the final budget approval. That's what the special meeting was called for. So with that, we can open, and just have some discussion. I want to ask you guys to remind me as we walk through this. Cole County had a meeting the other day, and they asked for some additional revenue on their, it's on miscellaneous expense. So we have to cover that, so, we'll cover that. That's part of the final budget approval, it's just another expense item that they brought up. So, with the final budget approval, I have a lot of, several things that I want to share, but is there anything that, we'll just go down the line and see who wants to speak first. Merlin?
No, I went through this quite a few times again. I have nothing to add, and I'll just say at this time.
Okay.
There might be some time later, but.
Dwayne?
I really have nothing. I know there were some rumors on the street about reducing benefits and things like that, but I'm not in favor of that. This time I'll make a motion again, like I did at the last budget hearing, and motion to approve the budget that was presented on 9/11/2020, which has the revenues, proposed revenues at over $6 million and the expenditures at $5.7 million. So I'll make a motion to approve that budget that was presented.
Okay, we have a motion by Dwayne Shire to approve the budget, and I'm not gonna change your words one bit, I just wanna clarify a couple things.
Mr. Chairman, don't Wayne and I even get a chance to answer your, you asked Merlin and Dwayne for their input. We don't get any input before a motion's even made?
Once the okay. As I see it, Dwight, the motion's made, we need to act on the motion. The stuff that we want to, because it was made, we had no control over that. That our discussion would come as part of the discussion on the budget. We would still be able to bring up our comments. So, I'm gonna hold up this budget just to make sure that I'm referring to the right one. You're referring to this expenditure column that says salary on it?
Yes,
And this is dated 9/11,
yes,
and the revenue's over here, this?
yes.
Okay. I just wanna make very sure. Okay, we do have a motion on the floor by Dwayne to approve the budget with the salary increase, but I'm not gonna use his, Shannon, do you wanna read the motion, please?
To approve the budget presented on 9/11 with revenues over $6 million and expenditures at $5.7 million.
Thank you. Do we have a second?
For discussion, I'll second that for discussionary purposes.
Okay, so then we'll continue down the line. Wayne, is there anything that you want to, part of the discussion of this is,
Yeah. Well, one thing that bothered me is going down the road here is I hope we do have enough funding in here, again, getting back to our weights and measures on like the frost laws and stuff. It just, I thought about this the other day and I go, gosh, it just bothers me because it's like you take a stretch of pavement and you don't have any speed zone in there and they just go wide open. Well, we need to kind of get a handle on this because, you know, a paved patch, just a little patch is $5,000. So if we can do a little prevention on this, I think can go a long ways, but that's not probably, something we need to kind of look forward to and towards so that we don't neglect that portion, you know. Other than that, I don't have anything, we'll just,
Dwight?
Yeah, I've been working on this since budget hearings started. I have some recommendations for this year's budget. I made a sheet out, you can follow along if you want to, if you don't, that's fine too.
Do you have an extra copy, Dwight? Thank you.
Way back in, May, we asked for a 10% decrease. Some of our departments did, some of our departments didn't. So at this time, I'm gonna start with my recommendations. The auditor, the state's attorney, the tax director, the janitor, the sheriff, the youth bureau, the task force, the library, and the landfill, I would expect a 10% decrease in all of these departments. Now, the sheriffs, I will combine the sheriff, youth bureau, and task force and leave the cuts up to him. The youth bureau and the task force are good programs, so I'm gonna let the sheriff decide that. That comes to $362,765. That brings our expenditures down to, without the salary increase, to $5,355,664. I also want that $705,000 that was put in the general fund taken back out, put back in the health insurance fund where it's supposed to be. We have no way of knowing what our health insurance costs are gonna be next year. And we're taking from a fund to balance the budget, and that's not right. In my idea, I would like to see that CARES money taken out and used to balance the budget. Now, after these cuts are made, I would like to put $50,000 in the building and grounds fund alongside the 50 we already budgeted for. I want to put $50,000 in the road department for the road department to hire a truck reg and get that vehicle out on the road. And use CARES money to balance the budget and make sure there's enough in the 911 siren fund to take care of what we need for that. Now, this is all from the CARES money. We take that $705,000 out of the revenue side of the general fund, that'll bring it down to the revenue's down to $5,340,180. So, if we use that number and take away our cuts, our budget should be $5,355,664 with no salary increases. With salary increases, we'll end up about $15,000 short on the revenue side. That's my suggestion.
I have a question for Mr. Berger. You include the landfill, which doesn't get any tax money? in
I'm
this?
not gonna get into that with you, Dwayne. the landfill is still under us. We're the fiscal agents for the county. The landfill is part of the county. And if you look on the bottom of this sheet, Dwayne,
Yeah, I see that.
yeah, the request was 426,921. The budget amount is $336,000. That's the revenue versus the expenses. There's $1 million difference there. Where's that coming from? I have them sheets too.
But the only thing I was saying, Dwight, was, they don't take any tax money.
And that I don't believe. You're saying me they've never spent any tax money on that landfill, ever?
Well, in the beginning,
Well, the numbers are there. Right here.
I think
This is
think we maybe had a
this is the
loan it,
revenue,
didn't we?
This is what she's asking
Okay,
for.
we'll wait till, so we get one person talking.
I'm done.
Go ahead, Lane.
Well, I know it's pretty well, for a long time, like it says, wouldn't say that we never had, because we had to get started, we didn't have much to start with. So that kind of crunches that a little bit, but it is a self-funding agency, and, that's the way it's designed to run.
So can I answer that, Marvin?
Sure, of course.
So what you're saying is they don't need to cut 10%? They're better than the rest of the departments?
I didn't say that, Dwight.
No, well, that's the way it sounds to me. We're all supposed to be saving money.
Okay, I have several things I'd like to share with the board before they take their vote on this here. The first I'm gonna ask is on the budget right there that we have in front of us. And I believe the first column, the third column it says recommendation 8.3, is that without the salary, is that correct? Okay, the difference between with the salary and without the salary is $64,000, $64,708. The salary sheet that Shanna gave us, that number was actually $79,297. That was without benefits. And we demonstrated that our benefits are quite a bit, or not, that probably should be added to it.
Mr. Chairman, can I clarify on that?
Absolutely.
You're looking at just the general fund
Hmm?
with the 64,000, the 79,000 is the entire county,
Okay,
so that's the difference there.
thank you. So the number up there, that number in the general fund is an accurate number in that respect, but it still doesn't take into account for benefits.
It does. I reworked in the columns, the retirement, you can see the difference in the retirement county share under that line. It went from 249 to 249,388. And that's really the only benefit. Social Security down on the bottom too, and that went from 359.5 to 369.5 for the general fund.
Okay, we might have to refer to your 2021 salary budget, that sheet that you gave us like this.
But this, that's all inclusive of the entire county, not just the general fund.
I got that. We'll have to see if we can walk through that, see if that did include the benefits. If you, let's just take the, I was gonna use myself, but I'm not sure that I can do that because I took a 10% cut. Do you mind if I use your name for reference? Okay. If we look at the 2021 salary budget, estimated increase, 50 cents an hour, comes out to 1,040, which is only that's 50 cents, that doesn't include the benefits.
Right.
So what I'm saying is that.
But then down on the bottom, on the back side, it says estimated retirement match. So on the 79,296, that would increase the total budget for every employee and every fund would be the $7,900. And then the estimated Medicare FICA match would be 6,000. And on the bottom, I said total increase to general fund. It should just be total increase overall. It's not just the general fund. So overall for the entire county, a 50% or a 50-cent hour increase is $93,000. That's for every employee in every fund.
Okay, does that include vacation, social security,
That includes the Medicare FICA match.
which is our medical insurance, right?
No, no,
Okay.
insurance isn't included in your salary.
Talking to the microphone, please.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yes, absolutely.
The health insurance costs don't change because your salary changes. Those are set numbers.
Okay. But retirement does, right?
Yep, and that's why the increase there for, it's in that green bar, estimated retirement match would be $7,900.
Okay.
And that's 10% of the increase of 79,000.
All right, thank you. That was one of the things that I was looked at. There were a couple of small things, and some of this stuff, it was done the last 2 days, so ideally, I would have made a trip over here and saw Shanna and discussed this. Time constraints with other meetings and stuff, I was not able to do so. But there are a couple of small things, is on the revenue sheet, under county agent, it's Fund 2960,
Can you tell everybody what page you're on?
page 18. And you're probably gonna be able to answer this right off the top of your head. The budget sheet shows 169,543, and on that sheet it shows 174,12.
Yep, so as you remember, I told you guys, I sent you a memo when I sent this budget. The 2021 auditor recommendation column is without salary increase, and the 2021 approved column to the right is with the salary increase. So you can see there, it's, the 2021 is the approved, is the salary increase, and then it has 174,12.
It does, but what does the budget sheet show?
Both of those.
Are you sure of the page number, Marvin?
It's on the revenue side,
It's on the revenue page, page 18.
Okay.
So if you go down to the bottom of that
Okay.
sheet, county agent has 174,12 under the salary one, and has 343, that's a typo. Should be 543. Under the without.
You're looking at the budget sheet now?
Yep,
Okay, where were you looking at?
under county agent.
It should be what?
Well, the one column does show the 174,12 following. Under the middle column, where the salary increases are.
No, I'm not. You can go ahead and point at it and I'll find it.
Right here. County agent, 174,12.
Okay,
And then the next column over is 169,343, it should say 543. That's a typo on my spreadsheet.
well, mine shows 543.
Huh. Maybe I have the wrong,
The one on 9/11 does show that number.
okay, so that's where those numbers are.
Okay, thank you.
Yep.
I'm gonna answer all these just that easy. This is on the revenue sheet, page 6. Mercer County Task Force. See if I can find it, might be able to answer my question right away. budget sheet has a different revenue.
Nope, it's the same thing. I should have flipped the columns so that they match.
It's all right, just help me out with it a little bit.
So, under task force, the middle column where the salary is, it says 404,919, that's under the 2021 approved column. And then under the 2021 recommended with no salaries is the 399,976. And that's printed on page 6.
Okay. Just got two more. This is under Youth Bureau. This is on page 5. I bet it's gonna show up there too, right?
Page 6, yep. It's at the top of page 6, but. Oh, there. That one is not the same. I'll look on the expenditure side of that. I must have done the revenue side wrong, because on my expenditure side, I show 190,241, and then the next column is 193,955.
So where it shows on his page 5, it shows 188,455. What number should that be?
On which page are you looking at, Marvin?
I'm looking on page 5, Fund 2121.
2125?
Yeah, down to 2125, yeah. Right at the very bottom right-hand corner. Says 188,455.
Yep, you gotta flip to the next page on the top, that's where the total line is.
Okay,
So one says 183,238, it should say 190,241.
okay.
Fix that.
So, okay,
Over
Wait.
here.
yep. So on this budget sheet that Dwayne referred to it as motion, that number that says 193,955, what should that be?
That number is right. If he went with the salary increase, that number's right.
Okay,
It's the one, this sheet is actually right, it's my actual budget sheet that needs to be fixed
okay,
in here, on page 6.
all right. And one more here, and this is, page 8, and this is County Road.
Expenditure?
Still on revenue.
Okay.
When I add up those transfers from township roads, which is 150,000, unorganized roads, 830, state highways, 867, 644, aid to secondary is 889,069, I come up with a value of 2,736,713. And the number on our sheet's a little bit
Because
different.
I don't have it planned to transfer all of it.
Okay,
We don't always transfer everything over. We have to expend 75%. And transfers out would be on the expenditure side of what I.
Right.
So we're looking at Township Road,
Should be 150,000. 2145 is 830,000. Sure.
$830,000.
Correct.
is unorganized road.
Yep. State highway is 2150,
State highway is
867, 644,
644.
and then 2160,
Into secondary.
889, 069.
Yep. Two, 7, 3, 6.
713. I'd like those numbers to match if that's all right.
Yeah, that's just that's an error on my part, because I went to the another transfer for 8,000.
That's why we look
That'll
at,
have to change in the, that's just in the revenue side too over here,
Okay.
on my actual budget sheet.
that's why we have a different set of eyes looking at it. So, that'll be changed then, right?
Yep.
Thank you very much. That's all I had on the errors part. Pretty small. Now, I ran a total, and I'm gonna give this to all you guys. This is on the special funds report. On the budget sheet, I don't see totals, so I ran it. And please feel free to correct me on anything. This is, give that to Shannon. Well, I did that backwards, didn't I, anyway? You get one, and you get one, and Dan wants one. I took the information off of the blue worksheet that Shanna gave us for the cash on hand. Budget revenue comes from the revenue report that we've just been looking at some pages of. We have some transfers in, some budgeted expenditures, and then we have some transfers out. And if you, let's just do one at a time, and it'll just take a second to walk through these really quick. Seeking an interest, no problem. County building, we're gonna end up with $1,000 more, that's fine. Okay? Building fund, it's a wash. Okay? Document preservation, it appears that we're overspending by 23,000. Sheriff Game and Fish, another 3,000. The reason it shows that is that we're decreasing the cash on hand. That's what that value should be telling you. We're not necessarily overspending, we're decreasing the cash on hand that we started with. Look at that very first column, it says cash on hand at the beginning, at the end of this year, that's what we're supposed to have, that's what we expect to have. With our present budget, next year, it's going to go down. Okay, it's going to decrease by those amounts. Unorganized road It's gonna decrease by 237,000 with what we have budgeted today. Aid to secondary roads, the money we have in the bank for that is gonna decrease by almost $500,000. 911 is gonna decrease. Health insurance, looks like it's gonna decrease a whole bunch. Weed control, when you get all the way down to the bottom, we are decreasing our bank balance by $1.6 million. That's money that we're using from our reserves to pay for this year's budget. Now, reserves is the wrong word. That's money that we're using from these funds to pay for this year's budget. I feel our budget should be self-substantiating. It should cover expenses, the revenues and expenses should cover it. This is kind of explaining why the last 5 years or 7 years, our bank balances have been decreasing. We keep on taking money out of the money that's in there. Now, we'll walk through some more things here, and this will come into play.
I just have a comment on that.
Absolutely.
Okay, so the special revenue funds, like, let's take dock preservation. She says she's bringing in 15,000, but she's gonna expend 38. Most of these don't expend
Correct.
everything, you know? And they're also not supported with like tax dollars, so whatever she brings in, she can spend for dock pres. The same that goes for like 911, she's not supported, tax dollars don't go in there. You know, that's with her 911 fees and all that, so she only spends what she has in there to spend. Does that make sense?
Yep, actually, if we took that off, the number on the bottom would look even worse, so. Because that 20,000 is a positive.
But I'm saying like the 2911 too,
Mm-hmm.
that's a negative. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So,
Even with that, now, I did ask the road department to tell me how much, Shanna's correct. 100% correct. I asked the road, how much are they gonna spend this year, how much they expect to bring back? It's a little over $500,000 that they're not going to spend, okay? So that would increase our cash on hand, possibly, because this cash on hand may have taken that into effect already. But regardless, it's not gonna change the fact that we're taking from our cash on hand to pay for this year's bills. A substantial amount. So I want you guys to be aware of that. I also have one for the landfill. Oops. Cash on hand that we're expecting at the end of this year is 115,000, roughly. We're gonna use 90,000 of that next year, 91,000 of that. So we're decreasing 114,592, taking 90,000 out of that.
so,
What are we gonna do in 2022?
so with the landfill, she, puts large chunks of money, for like future vehicle purchases, lease purchase of equipment that doesn't get used every year. Currently, she's only at 46% of her budget, when the normal this time of year would be 67% of her budget. So she's 20% below what she should be at, and that's kind of her trend every year. We go back and look at those numbers, but, she only spends absolutely what's necessary. She budgets high, but the only thing that is a for sure thing that comes out of her budget is salaries and benefits and utilities, so.
Okay, we're approving a budget today, thank you.
Just keep that in mind.
Yep. We're approving a budget today based on the numbers of expenses and revenues that we've looked at. The budget should be self-sufficient. If we follow what's presented today, beginning of next year, Dwayne, we're gonna have $25,000 in there on cash.
Well, I don't
From
agree.
114,000 to 25.
I checked their cash balance, as of last month, it was at 250,000. They continue to get revenue every day. And I don't know if you compensated for that. I don't agree with your budgeted shortfall here, because she never spends her money.
I'm using the numbers that were giving to us to prepare our budget. Every one of these is in the 114,592 is on the worksheet that came 9/15. The revenue is on the revenue sheet that was given to us for the budget. There's nothing else I can use. We are preparing the budget based on the information that we have, and that's what I used. I didn't make anything up, I didn't add or subtract. Just using what we have here, we are going to decrease our cash on hand by $90,000. What I want us to be aware of is that in 2022, where are we gonna have all the money we are gonna have enough levies to pay the bills? Okay, that takes care of that question. Now I'm gonna give you some road funds. This sheet gets a little busy. I tried to make it as presentable as I could. Township roads, cash on hand, we're expecting to have that much, but we're gonna transfer out 150,000. It's gonna leave us 75,000. Unorganized roads, that shows you where we get all of our revenue from. Cash on hand is 430,000. We're gonna transfer out, we're gonna end up with 193. Aid to secondary roads, we're gonna start with 788, we're gonna be down to 330. Then you move down to county road, there it shows all the revenue streams. We started with 250, we're gonna gain revenue of 451. We're gonna transfer out 2.7. We're gonna end up with a balance of 242. So the beginning cash, 2021, is $1,693,086. That's what we show. The ending cash, at the end of next year, following our budget information, is $839,840. We're using $853,000 to cover our shortfall, based on our budget that we have in front of us of our expenses that we approved. So the road departments aren't self-sufficient. We're buying down the money that we have in that fund.
Mr. Chairman, can I add to that?
Absolutely, absolutely.
Okay, so unorganized road, we can levy up to 18 mills. Aid to secondary road, for a couple more years, we can levy up to 15 mills. And county road, which I just found out, you can levy 10 mills without voter approval. If the board so chooses, I could have levied these higher. You know, at this point, it's too late, the estimated tax statements went out. But there are options to levy them higher. The reason I didn't was based upon the budget we received from the county road and needing to spend some of that money down, like the aid to secondary roads was getting really high, so we needed to, expend some of those dollars. So keep in mind, county road can do 18, 28, 38, 43 mills essentially next year.
So you got 18 mills on unorganized state highway is, that's just a,
State highway is
is
just what we
money.
get,
Aid to secondary, what's the max?
15.
Okay, we're gonna get to that. We're gonna answer then, county road, we can levy 10 mills.
Yep.
Okay. Shanna's, again, she's 100% correct. We can do that. Let's go down to the bottom of that page there. If we decrease our cash revenues this much this year, next year, using the same, I just had to guess on something, so I used the same mill levy value of 52,037. This could be 17 cents. You take the township roads, we don't get anything, so that times zero is still zero. Unorganized roads, you take that times the mill levies that we have right now, you end up with that much money. What it boils down to, in order to have the same budget in 2022, using what Shannon just told us, we would have to increase the mills, our present mills that we already have, we'd have to increase them almost 22 mills to make that budget next year, because we spent down all the money this year. We don't have that many mills. 10 and 7 and 6 is 23, and 22 is 23 and 22. We don't have that many mills. That's 45 mills. And the taxpayers wouldn't be able to absorb that burden next year. This year, I propose we start watching what we do with this budget, so we don't have to take out a loan.
Can I add one more thing to that?
Absolutely, every time, please do.
The county road also does not spend their budget in their entirety. So we're budgeting to meet the needs of the budget, but they don't spend everything. Like this year, they're not doing one project at Hazen Bay Road, I think, that was 500,000. The royalty one, that one hardly ever gets spent, that's at 100,000. So if you start to look at the things that they're not actually spending on, you are still gonna have those dollars in reserves, because the budget, hardly any department spends their budget in its entirety.
Okay, let's
But
use,
at budgeting, we have to make sure that we have the funds to cover
Right.
the entire budget.
I like exactly what you said. We have to have the funds to cover that. Now, County Roads suspects they're going to have 543,000 back this year, and we only have 250. So that value could be reduced a little bit. That's a projection. My question to the board is, we are cutting projects, services to the county that they need, and pretty soon you can only rob from Peter to pay Paul so often. Then you have to go out and fix all those roads, and we're gonna be caught. In the end, someday we're gonna have to pay the piper. We did that last year, we did it again this year, where we cut projects.
Mr. Chairman, dear, that sheet that Eric presented us, wasn't there like 10 or 12 projects on there slated for the next 3 to 5 years? And they were big projects.
Our expenses aren't, the point that you're making is that our expenses are not gonna go down, they're gonna probably go up.
Right.
And I'll say this statement again. In my opinion, our budget should be self-sufficient. At least a lot closer than that. Okay. Continuing my discussion, I need a little bit of help from Shannon. I asked her to prepare some worksheets. The health insurance, I bet I spent 6 hours on that. And the number that I come up with in our general fund is not 705,000 on the expense side. So my number is 780,000, I think. 786,000. I think this is an area, and I'm gonna ask Shanna this. This is something that, because of the length of discussion that's gonna be involved, that I would like to sit down with her and maybe another commissioner and work it out in her office. Cause I think the numbers that I have, go ahead.
So how I figure health insurance in the budget is I have a spreadsheet in my office, which is exempt from public view because I cannot disclose who's on what plan and how much their plan is and so forth, like health insurance. So I know exactly split by each department, what each employee pays, the total of the employer share, the total of the employee share, and the total cost that goes to PERS and Blue Cross Blue Shield. And I explained, I wrote an email to you yesterday, and did that not help? Because like I said, my monthly,
Shanna sent me an email, I did not open it, I did not actually even see it. I was up till 10 o'clock last night, and I was also answering other phone calls and emails, and I apologize to you.
okay, well, then I'll just read it to you guys.
Sure.
It'll just be easier. So, in the 2935, the health insurance account, you had questioned the total being the $1.2 million. Well, you had actually said.
Okay, go ahead.
1.1, but it's 1.2. So that's the total of both ND PERS health premium and Blue Cross Blue Shield dental vision monthly premium. Every month, what we pay to those entities is $105,048. And that is multiplied times 12.
Do you have that number with you?
What do you mean?
105 times 12. You said every month we're paying that, right?
Yep.
So what's it come out to? Do you have that? I can punch it in here
Well,
too.
it comes out to $1,260,576.
Got that, all right. I
That's
got.
for every employee, that's the health insurance fund, not just the general fund.
Yep.
And then we added the $705,025 to be transferred into the general fund. So that brings the total expenditure on the health insurance side to $1,965,601. And that's what's on this sheet under health insurance. Yeah. Following?
So far,
Okay.
yep.
So the health insurance amounts you see in the general fund, youth bureau, task force, county road, 911, county agent, weed and landfill is the employer portion,
Yep,
okay?
yep.
So on the revenue side then, I have under 2935, 36910, $127,000 bringing in the revenue. And that's the employee share
Mhm.
to ND PERS and Blue Cross Blue Shield, which is taken out of their
Correct, got it?
paychecks.
Mhm.
So that's $10,584 a month, and I multiply that times 12. And then on a 2935, 37910 on the revenue side, I have a revenue of $1,140,065, and that's the employer share to PERS and Blue Cross, and that is $95,005.41 a month. So I multiply that times 12 to get
Give me that last number, I didn't have that one, go ahead, give me that one again.
the employer share of premiums to PERS and Blue Cross is $95,005.41. And then you take that times 12 to get your yearly revenue.
Okay,
So I'm not sure where the confusion is, because then, like the 705,000, that's me taking all of my general fund employees, their premiums, and multiply it times 12, the
Okay.
employer share.
mm-hmm,
Okay, so then you do that the same for all those other ones, the youth bureau, task force, county road, 911, county agent, weed and landfill.
mm-hmm,
So what you see in their budget on the expenditure side is the employer share, because the employee share obviously comes out of everybody's paychecks. But but it all gets deposited into the 2935 account because we pay everything feeds into 2935. And then when we have to write a check to PERS and Blue Cross, then that comes out of 2935.
Okay, so the money that's,
So the money
that the youth bureau, the task force, and county road, and 911,
That's
county
written from their fund into.
2935.
Yep.
That's how I interpreted that. And that ends up being like $457,600 from those. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, there's 7 entities there, including the landfill. Okay? Let me flip that page over and humor me for a second. I'm gonna ask you some, all right, I got, the way I started to look at it, and I guess, I know I'm doing this incorrectly, but the total cost in the budget's $1,965,601.
Yep.
We're transferring to the general fund $705,025, so that gets us down to that number you said, $1,260,576. Does that so far sound correct? Okay,
That's the expenditure side.
right.
Yep.
The employee contributions is $127,000.
Mhm.
So that gets our expenditure side down to $1,243,576. I subtracted that 126, we don't have to do it because it comes from the employees. So does that sound, am I on the right track or am I twisted?
Well, you're kind of meshing together revenues and expenditures now. We gotta keep those separate.
Okay,
There's two different expenditures that you're looking at, essentially. You're looking at the.
okay, let's just make this real simple. Are you real comfortable with that $705,025?
Yes.
Okay, I will just leave that alone, and we'll stay with that at this time. Yep. There's no point in, okay, I agree with you, thank you. Now we have another small issue. And that's Custer Health. This, again, I handed a letter to Shanna 5 minutes before our meeting, okay? This was a little bit of a discussion last night with the state's attorney, and for her, it was new information too, and she wasn't feeling very well. So what I'm saying is that, in fairness to them, it's new information. So as we walk through it, that's why the question's here today. It's a small amount of money. We're talking $672 that we may or may not have to pay Custer Health. And I'm gonna let Shanna address that.
I guess I'm not sure where the issue is. Hold on, I gotta.
Here's what, the way, from my,
Is it on- Are we
Go ahead.
looking at Erin's,
yes,
a discrepancy in her math?
no. The math is all correct. What we did is we gave her an estimate of what, here's how I interpret it. I'm on Custer Health Board there too. Erin was putting together a budget, and she needed estimates from, because there's several counties involved. She needed estimates from all these counties, what they can contribute, or what they would contribute, and then she would plug those estimates into her budget and come up with, well, I need this much money matching her expenses. She takes that estimate and she derives how would I say it, a multi-county levy.
Equalized.
An equalized levy is the right term, that all the counties have to pay the same equalized levy. Then she has to have this vote on that, which we did. So we voted on the equalized levy. And I don't have that right in front of me, I probably should have, but.
I do.
So anyhow, I take that equalized levy times our mill value, and it comes out to $672 less than the estimate that we provided her.
It's 3.36, isn't it? The equalized levy?
Yeah, whatever it is.
It is
Okay,
3.36.
so that's all it boils down to. We provided her an estimate. Based on that, she came up with the mill equalized levy for all the counties. When we take that equalized levy times the mill valuation, we possibly can pay her $672 less than the estimate that we provided her. She has agreed to it. So that was the only question, and I wanted to run it past the board and Shanna. Again, it's a small amount of money. I'm just trying to be accurate in how we do our business. So what's your take on that, Shanna?
Okay, the estimate that I gave her is higher than what our actual mill value is, based upon, when I give an estimate, I don't have my essentially assessed yet.
Yep.
So, when any entity requests money from the county, a lot of them do request in dollars and cents, plus they request in a mill levy. I can only give them money based on the dollars and cents that they request, and I cannot give them any more than what they've requested.
Mhm.
So, the 3.36, actually, the 175,516 is what Custer Health has requested, which comes out to a 2.85 mill levy, not a 3.36, because you have to take into account the state aid, the homestead credit, and whatever else is in there. Let me look. Okay, the mill levy comes out to 148,176 for taxes. In lieu of taxes is $470. State aid distribution is 25,000, and homestead credit is 1,870, which comes out to the 175,516. And then that mill levy for them is actually 2.85, not 3.36.
That's kind of what I tried to ask you at the door, that you would subtract the amount of money, those other revenues, and reduce the mill levy that we're actually gonna pay
Yes.
them. That's
And
what we're
that's-
going, that's what we're gonna do.
Yep.
Okay. They're gonna get, that answers my question. Instead of paying the full mill levy, we reduce it by the amount of the other revenue streams.
Right, and we do that because we cannot give them more
That
money.
makes total sense. All of it together, I was
No,
going,
no.
okay. All right. CARES, the next one is the CARES money. What's that fund number, please?
2129.
Okay, do we have we just deposited about 670, almost 679,000 in there, correct? Okay. Do we have an expense on that fund for 2021?
No. Well, under the salary column, I took it out, I don't know, on this sheet it shows 5,000, because that's what was requested at preliminary time, let me look. It's on page 68.
Mhm.
Under the 2021 approved column, it is zeroed out, expenditures are.
Okay, in the fall of 2021, we need $8,500 to pay for part of that upgrade of the siren system,
How much?
8,500.
Okay.
Plus, once that circuit is installed, we have to maintain it, it costs $650 a month for that. So if this is gonna be installed in the fall, $8,500, I think should be expensed out of that. And also, I don't know when in the fall can be anybody's description, so I think we should take 5 months of that 650 and add that to it too, so that's 3,250. And I wanna know your guys' thoughts. That siren amount of money is due next fall.
In 2021.
in 2021, and that ends up being 11,750. But you guys have the same information I do from Carmen. How do you guys wanna do it?
It needs to go in
And-
there.
Thank you. I was gonna ask you next, I was asking them, I was gonna come to you.
Yeah, that needs to go in there.
What is the total cost of this siren system? What's it gonna cost the county?
I do have that paper here. It's gonna be roughly around 530,000. I'm just guessing off the top of my head. How close am I, Dean? Pretty close? Okay, thank you. It's not all due immediately. Some of it doesn't have to be done till 2022, and maybe possibly some radios purchased after that even.
How much has needed to be in 2021?
At least 11,750.
530, what was,
I'm sorry, what was your question?
530,000, what was the rest of the total cost?
Well, I do have that sheet here someplace from Carmen.
Well, 530 is close enough, that's fine.
Yep.
That's fine.
We got the circuit, then we got the base, I call it the base station, which is the wrong term, but that's what I call it, and there's some other things, then the radios are probably gonna be worse than the base station, huh, Dean? It'll be a lot. But it doesn't matter, it's a large number. So, expensed out of the CARES fund needs to be $11,750. Would you agree with that, Shannon?
Yeah, whether it's in the budget or not, it's gonna have to get expended out of there.
Yep, it needs to be in the budget, so it's noted that we did that.
Well, we didn't budget for any of that, did we? The siren system?
No, we took the 240 out because we got the CARES dollars.
We have that 240,000 expense to what fund?
We had it in the sheriff's general fund budget to be transferred into this public safety fund.
Okay, so we took it out of there. What was that fund number? No, go ahead.
What do you mean, Ben? I don't know what you're talking about.
I know. The fund number, the sheriff that we had it in,
Yeah, we budgeted in the general fund in his budget,
okay?
and we were gonna push it into this 21,
Okay,
29.
my question is, did we indeed make sure that that's taken out of there?
Yeah, it's not in here.
What page are you looking at?
Pages 32 and 33.
Okay. I just wanted to make darn sure that we said we were going to, and I didn't see it, but I wanted to make sure. Okay, so we don't have that budgeted anywheres, but we should. And it should be in budget against that Fund 2129 at this time. That will not affect our budget, because we still are gonna have 600, well, we started with 679 in there. Okay?
Now, this CARES money is in that public safety fund, but that is part of the general fund.
No,
What do you mean, no?
it's a special revenue fund. It's Fund 21, 29.
Yeah, but it goes into the general fund.
No, general fund is 1001.
At the end,
Deposited into 21, 29.
at the end of the year, that money stays there, or does it get
No, it
moved?
stays there. Like, the current balance in that account right now is 682,000. Because before our deposit, we had, the sheriff's department had $3,200 in there.
Well, I think we should take that 11,750 out of that fund for now.
That's,
That's my feelings.
that's what you said, right?
Right, I wanna put that in the form of a motion so we get, have it,
Right.
but we have a motion on the floor already, so that would have to be an amendment. Actually, it don't need to be a motion as far as I know. Dwight, are you in agreement with that?
Yeah.
Wayne?
Yeah, that's what should be done.
Dwayne? Merlin?
No,
Can I ask why?
I think we should leave it where we have it set and not be, shell gaming and moving things around with it because,
We're not moving anything around, Merlin.
I know, but like we said, for any of those expenses to be made, it comes to us, but, so what do you mean you're not moving it around?
All we're doing is, we know we have $11,500 bill coming in
Right.
2022.
Yep.
All I wanna say is that we have a fund that has 682,000. I wanna expense that 11,500 out of that fund.
Out of that fund, okay.
That's all.
I misunderstood, that's fine then, yes.
So just on page 68 is where I'm gonna put the 11,750.
What page is that?
Page 68, where it says 0, it'll be 11,750 in your expenditure side.
You said 2022 here.
2021.
I'm sorry, the fall of 2021, we have to spend 11,500, from my information. I'm gonna ask a favor of Shanna though, and you guys can also do it, but would you please verify that? The 8,500 and, I think I have that sheet here from her, but I'm not sure where I put it. From Carmen Reed, she gave us that report of what's gonna be required.
Well,
Okay.
no matter what the price is, you're gonna have to pay it,
Right, okay.
and it's
All
gonna
right.
go to that fund.
Okay, the next thing is levy 1204. I want to bring you guys up to date on that. Actually, we got a letter here. This is from Jessica. She sent that and called me a couple times last night. I'll tell you the history behind this letter, and this had to do with what I asked Jessica to look up at our last meeting. 1204 has always been available for us to levy against. It's county roads. From what I see on our records, we are given a mill levy for county roads of 6, or whatever we're taking, most of the time it's 6 mills. However, when it goes to the state, it's not on the county, it's not on county roads, it goes into the general fund, that mill levy value. I really, really disagree with that practice, but there's some extenuating reasons that occurred. I'd like to just correct that practice, and I think we're working towards that. For one, by not using County Road Levy 1204 and putting into the general fund, that monies could, they're not being, to my knowledge, nothing's in wrong, but they could be expensed for anything on the general fund. If they're left in 1204 as a restricted special fund, they would stay there and meant they were levied for the road. It all needs to stay there for the road.
Can I add to
Absolutely,
that?
go ahead.
It's always been deposited into 2140, always, so.
Here.
Yes.
Yep.
Yep.
On the state level, it's not transparent, okay?
And in my defense, I'm going to speak to that. I was always under the impression that 1204 was a voter-approved levy. I didn't realize that the first 10 mills were non-voter approved, and then the second 10 mills had to be voter approved. So, and in looking back in the records, it appears that this is how it's been done since 1959 in Mercer County. So moving forward, it will be on my abstract correctly. So good catch, Marvin, but I was under the impression that it was always a voter-approved mill levy. But the dollars have always gone to county road, and everything is always on our tax list for all these years. It's always been, those mills have been apportioned to county road.
Okay, so in addressing what Shanna just said, I want to thank you for that explanation. What we're here to do is to correct practices, okay? That's all we're trying to do. And we find something that could work better or should work better, we're going to move in that direction. And that's all we're doing with this here. There's one more little snafu regarding this. And I'm going to ask you guys to pay attention to this because we're going to vote on it. Part of the law or as we read it, and it's in this letter here. The first 10 mills we get from the state is automatic. This is all new information, okay? From what we were doing since 1959. We can levy 10 mills on county road. If we vote or approve, we can vote for additional 10 mills. But if we do that, 20% of that additional 10 mills has to go to the cities and other taxing entities. We can actually go up to 30 mills, but only that first 10 mill addition has to go to the cities. The last 10 mills would stay with the county. So it's really kind of convoluted deal. What we have been doing is when this money comes in, and it comes in under 1204 county roads, because that was our understanding since 1959, we've been giving 20% of it to the cities. We do not have to be doing that. There's no law says that we have to. There's no law says that we can't if we choose to. So thus far, we've always chosen to by default. And what I'm going to ask the board for this year, rather than pull the rug on the very last 11th hour here, that we, again, for 2021, give 20% to the cities. They probably already have it in their budget. I think it costs our county about $40,000.
We
Okay?
have it in our budget as well.
Okay?
And actually, that wasn't repealed from the Century Code for the first 10 mills until, I believe, 2015 legislative
Yeah.
session, so.
So,
But
so anyhow, because we're taking, we can call Jessica. Jessica said we can call her anytime we want to. Actually, we're off the hook. Had this been done all of it in 1204 levy, that would have been a restricted fund. We could not give it to the cities because that's what it was levied for, as I understand restricted funds. But being we've been using the general fund, we can do so. So I want to vote, and we're going to have to do that after, because you already got a motion on the floor. Unless you want to withdraw your motion, and let's take care of these small issues first and then come back to the motion.
No, I don't care to withdraw.
Okay? I'm going to ask each one of you commissioners individually then, and I would like it on record, please. Are you in favor for 2021 to continue the practice of giving 20% of what we have milled for county road to the cities? Did I say that fairly?
just, how about we just do 20% of, county road mill levy instead of milled for the,
That's fine, that's fine. I tried to word that in a way that we're not using 1204, because we are not this year. We're using the same amount, but it's going through the general fund, and then Shanda's making sure it gets apportioned correctly. Dwight, well, how do you feel about that?
Due to the shortness in letting the cities know that they're not gonna have that, I would like to continue it for 2021.
Wayne?
Yeah, I agree with Dwight here. When, they set their budgets and stuff, they're expecting that amount. I think we can look at that later on to, as the commission board, to see if we want to continue that practice or not.
Dwayne?
I agree with the discussion here. Their budgets have been done, so, and I think submitted. So I think to use your words to pull the rug out from under them is not a good way to do it. So make the decision next year as to how you're gonna do this.
Merlin?
I agree with Dwayne, you know, I kinda have a conflict of interest here with this because, you know, I'm a resident of the city of Beulah. So I guess one way or the other I'll be paying, but, again, I think we need to continue with what we've been doing instead of this, last minute Louis stuff.
Mr. Chairman, can I add to that?
Yes.
I believe this is gonna get legislative, they're gonna be looking at this during the next session. As we have worked through this in the last week, talking about this 20% road tax, I have contacted many auditors throughout the state, and they're still also giving the 20% road tax to cities. So it's not just Mercer County that didn't discontinue this practice in 2016. It's a lot of counties across the state. So I think bringing it to the light, to NADACO's attention, they're digging into it a little further with the county auditors across the state to see, you know, what we need to do to rectify it and how we're gonna go forward, so.
Okay. I agree also, and it's already, I'm sorry, Wayne, you wanna say something?
Oh, Mr. Chairman, is this gone to the resolution committee, NADACO to address this?
Yep, yep, it has.
was
We
part of
just
the-
discussed this in our
So it was covered
our
underneath that?
auditor meeting last week, right?
Yeah, it was covered under that one, okay, just as long as we're.
Well, and with the aid to secondary roads levy going away too, that's kind of why
Yeah.
we've been addressing all of this road levy stuff, so.
So that's all in that
Yep.
address?
Mhm.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, I also want to do that, and besides, we already have it expensed. It's part of what we approved, that 40,000 already. I would like to ask, with board's approval, that Shanna send a letter to all the cities notifying them that this practice may not continue in 2022.
Do you want me to wait until we find out what happens during the legislative session, or until I hear back from the DACO, or?
Well, right now, I wouldn't hesitate with saying it to them right now so that they can bring their arguments to the table. It may not.
Okay.
Even if NADACO doesn't get anything or the legislature doesn't address it, the present laws on the book give us the latitude to say yes or no.
Mr. Chairman, instead of saying the practice won't continue, maybe the practice will be discussed during the next budget season?
Say it as soft as we can. I mean, we're not here yielding a hammer. We're
Yeah.
trying to disclose information and reach a resolution. Okay. I have a couple more things, but not very many. I appreciate everybody's patience and open discussion on this stuff today. You know, you work on all these worksheets, I try to shed light on it and make it clearer for myself, and after a while you go, well, geez, what does that worksheet mean? I'm just gonna pass this out for thought. I took the general fund and I put it into old school format. Revenue on the left side, expenses on the right side. It's basically all I did. I get that back.
Give that back.
And I took the youth bureau, a couple other ones, youth bureau, task force, and special vehicle. Those were part of the general fund expense in our old budget, or the budget that's been presented, they get moved down to special funds. And they just get moved all over, and it's part of the general fund expense, so I just left them up in the top part where they belonged, where I feel that they belong, rather than transferring money out and transferring it over here and then back over again. So, that's what I did. The cash on hand per auditor is different than what she had. She had $9,200. The reason there's different is because there was cash on hand in Youth Bureau, Task Force, and Special Vehicle, which I lumped together there. So that is the cash on hand, if we leave those up there. Using this budget, we're going to have approximately $406,000 is all we're gonna have left in our general fund. So,
Question,
go ahead.
does this expenditures include the salary increase?
Yes. Now, in closing, I am going to argue in opposition to approving this budget as it is. Demonstrated that we're buying down our cash, and in 2022, we're gonna pay the piper. Our decreasing revenue bank balances for the last 8 years, or 8 years, whatever it is, that trend needs to stop. Our present budget continues that trend, the way I see it. I would argue against this budget. I would take the $705,000 that's put into the general fund from health insurance, and I would leave it where it is. We're gonna need that money for 2022. We never should have allowed it to go in there. So I want the money from the health insurance fund that was put into the general fund removed. It should not be there. I would also ask that we do not have a pay raise. A pay raise, while the employees certainly deserve whatever we can afford to do, we can't afford it. The monies just aren't there. We don't have enough meals in 2022, because that pay raise isn't just this year, it keeps going. From the information I see, I don't know how we're gonna make ends meet. And as hard as that is to say, and as unpopular as I can become for saying it, county taxes we cannot afford it. One further thing, because of the continuing deficit spending, and we don't have any money to cover our shortages, and I showed you shortages, our general fund has to cover the shortages. The amount of money that's in our general fund left over isn't nearly enough to cover the shortages. We're postponing projects, and we're gonna get farther behind on those. We even cut the building fund this year, and we know we have some up to $500,000 expenses coming our way that could occur this year or might not occur for 3 years, but we know they're there. And we decreased that. So we're already decreasing services. So, I'm in opposition, one more thing, and then I'll sum it up. I feel we should reduce the sheriff's budget by $250,000. And the sheriff can make the recommendations how he would choose to do so. But per our policy, he should bring that before the committee before he makes those choices, if the board votes that way. So I'm in opposition to this budget unless we take $705,000 out of the general fund that was put in there from the health insurance. I'm in opposition to this budget unless we do not give a pay raise and ask the sheriff to cut his budget by $250,000. That's my discussion regarding this budget. Any further discussion? We have a motion and a second.
No, I will not vote in favor of this budget either. I did give my recommendations earlier, so I just can't see, we're taking money from one place and putting it in our budget to balance. That's gotta stop. What fund are you gonna take it out of pretty soon?
Mr. Chairman, are you taking a vote on this now, or?
It's still open for discussion.
He just voted.
No, he said he's not going, that was part of his discussion. He didn't vote yet. Does anybody else have any further discussion? There be no further discussion? Dwayne, how do you vote?
Aye.
Wayne?
I vote aye.
Dwight?
No,
I vote no. Merlin?
Aye.
Motion passed. Budget is approved. The meeting is adjourned. Oh, geez. It's too late, meeting's closed. We never acted on that $1,000 for,
You said for the
but still, the meeting's adjourned.
Yeah.
Cole County's wants, they raised their mill levy for their contribution, they want, it looks like it's gonna cost our county another $1,000.
From the 6,500 that was in there. Well, when the bill comes, I guess we can discuss to take it out of miscellaneous. But meeting's adjourned.
Meeting's adjourned. I asked you guys to remind me of that. And